We also have a lot of mounds in that area now.
Those mounds have been
Created so that rhinos can take shelter. Not just rhinos, other animals also. Otherwise, they can be easily swept away during the torrent.
So has it proven to be useful, these mounds?
Very useful. I feel the first step in mitigation is avoidance. Ideally, we should avoid such interventions.
Okay, so if you can avoid the road going through the sanctuary,
That's best.
Yeah.
If we can look at alternatives which do not actually bisect, that is the best. Come across a tiger. It's almost like I'm standing in front of royalty. A tiger in, say, Ranthambore or Corbett is an APL tiger.
APL?
Above poverty line.
Okay.
And the tigers which live on the periphery,
Okay.
they are BPL tigers because you don't have any resources committed towards them. Project Tiger has been acknowledged as the most successful large animal conservation program in the world. Territorial nature of tigers. What happens is that as the animals become older, they're pushed to the periphery by the younger crop.
So the older ones,
The best habitats are always occupied by animals in their prime, so they will push off. Important role in our ecology because they used to dispose of carcasses very efficiently. The global population of the GIB is just about 150.
global population.
6 states in India, and it is an indicator species of the grass. So over a period of time, we lost our grasslands. More than 5,000 snakes on an annual basis without any song and dance. So I am very, very proud of my team, the people I have worked with all these years.
Excellent. Welcome again to the Risk and Resilience podcast series for Policy Perspectives Foundation. We are yet again today joined by another very interesting personality, a person who joined the Indian Forest Service in the 1990, and he was allotted to the UP cadre, which eventually became the Uttarakhand cadre. He is a very outstanding professional. We may have read about him in the newspapers and magazines. He's Mr. Samir Sinha, and welcome to you, Mr. Sinha.
Thank you.
So
it's a pleasure and a privilege.
Can we start with what brought you to the Indian Forest Service? What started you off? Where are you from?
Well, I grew up in the mining district of Dhanbad in Jharkhand. So green was something that was not very common around the area in which I grew up. So there was a bit of a fascination because when I used to travel with my parents to other parts of the country, I used to be fascinated by all that greenery. I didn't know where this was leading me. But the major trigger was, of course, my passion for photography. I was presented my first camera when I was in class 5th. I think that got me rolling. And after my master's, I was moving on to the US for a PhD in mining reclamation, perhaps as a regular progression. In the meantime, one of my friends and seniors from the university told me about the Indian Forest Service. And the hook was, you'll get a lot of opportunities to do photography here.
Okay.
So
you joined the Forest Service.
I applied, and while I was in my final year of the MSc, I got in my first attempt. God was very kind, and since then, the choice was at that point in time whether to stay back or to go to the US. I decided to stay back, and I think that's one of the best decisions I've made in my life.
Okay, great. That's outstanding. Lovely to know. But you're known more as a wildlife conservationist and protectionist rather than a person who's really in the original traditional sense a tree protector. So what made you change from tree protection to wildlife protection?
When I joined the Forest Service, I realized that there was a lot of focus still on classical forestry, which was centered on trees and forestry production, timber output and stuff like that. And we were following what the Germans and the British foresters had taught us since decades. As you know, the Forest Department is one of the oldest departments of the government, established well into the 19th century. And the first foresters came in from Germany to train us, and then later the Britishers. So that was the legacy they were following, even at that point in time. Wildlife at that point in time was an emerging field. There was not much known. It was still something that fascinated people, continues to do so today.
But it was the hunting time, no? People used to hunt.
No, hunting had stopped about 10 years before I joined the service.
Okay.
But that sentiment was still very much alive. And people didn't talk of wildlife as something that needed to be managed.
Okay.
They looked at wildlife as a resource something that was for pleasure, that was for fun. So that fascinated me, and of course, as I said, the major hook was the camera.
Okay, so the hunting, which was really open till the mid 70s when the Indian Forest Act came in, it was completely open. There was some protected area permits and all kinds of stuff that was given. So, do you think eventually it is the hunting and the absolute untrammeled stoppage, a complete continuance of hunting without any regulation that led to the stage where we needed to protect our wildlife?
Yes, that was a major causative factor. Historians like Ramchandra Guha have estimated that more than 50,000 tigers were killed during a very small period of history during the British time. At that point in time, hunting was open only for royalty and some of the Nawabs and similarly the royal people from India. Once we became independent, then it somehow descended into a free-for-all for a very long time.
Royals.
Yeah,
Okay,
we became free.
Yeah.
So gun license were regulated earlier. It became very easy to obtain a gun license in the name of crop protection. So we saw a huge decimation of our wildlife resources in that short period. Species like the tigers and all, they became very important because we could bring in Europeans and Americans to hunt tigers at top dollar. So when finally tiger hunting was stopped, one of the major oppositions to it was it is something that brings us a lot of foreign exchange. So, but the rulers at that point in time had the vision to say no, because they wanted to protect.
From independence to the mid 70s, this was a tourist industry to bring people from overseas to do tiger hunting.
Yes, I have very interesting, maybe I could share some of it with you. Air India used to advertise from its New York office as Shikar India.
Which India?
Air India
Really?
used to advertise itself as Shikar India. Then the Government of India tourist offices, they used to advertise India as a destination for tiger hunting. And royals came and hunted here, even from abroad, important dignitaries came to India for a tiger shoot. It was a very important part of their itinerary.
So only the tiger was the target, or were there others also?
Rhinos, if you go to Bharatpur, which is the Kevladev Ghana National Park today, close to Agra, there are some stones that commemorate bird hunts by the then Maharaja and his guests. 20,000 birds shot in a day. 27,000 birds shot in a day. So it was a bit of both. It was a show of machismo as also a show of the fact that they were the sovereign rulers. They owned the place, and they and their friends could do whatever they wanted for the sake of pleasure. And because wildlife all around us seemed to be too numerous, nobody seemed to think, at least most of them didn't think in the long term that this would do something to the population. It was only people like, for example, Jim Corbett, who himself was a very accomplished hunter initially. But Corbett was one of the first people who talked about how we needed to protect our wildlife, otherwise they would not be left anymore.
So he realized that this is dwindling and there needs to be something to be done.
And this was in the 1920s and 30s.
20s and 30s.
That's how Corbett National Park became mainland Asia's first national park in 1936. Salute to their vision.
Okay, great. So we'll come to more on the tiger and how it was conserved, if it is conserved at all right now. And let's go to the rhino first. So there's a project Rhino. There's been a lot of concern about man-animal conflict. There's been a lot of concern about illegal wildlife trade in the rhino. So can you tell us something about Project Rhino? Where is it? What's its status?
See, the challenge with the rhino is that it's a specialist animal which needs a certain kind of habitat, a combination of swampy areas and tall grasses. If you go to the historical text, Jahangir Nama talks of him hunting a rhino close to present-day Panipat. But of course, there are no more rhinos in that area today because the habitat is no longer there. The entire Asian rhino habitat in India and Nepal is confined to a few thousand square kilometers today. which is why the Project Rhino, which is basically what was talked about as the Indian Rhino Vision 2020, was started in 2005, targeted mainly at 7 protected areas in Assam, where they wanted to have rhino populations. And it's done quite well. The populations have doubled. And the good part and the bad part both are the fact that Kaziranga alone is home to nearly 70% plus of the world's Indian rhino.
Okay. And where are the other 30%?
Smaller parts, Jaldapara in West Bengal has some, Dudhwa has got a translocated population in UP, and then there are Pobitara, Manas, then Chitwan in Nepal. So it's distributed about 8-9 other smaller places. But the bulk of the population is in one place, that is Kaziranga.
So what about poaching? I mean, it must be a serious problem.
Rhino poaching has always been a very serious problem because, see, a lot of the problem with wildlife and illegal wildlife trade is there are a lot of myths associated with animal parts. Rhino horn is essentially keratin, like our nails or hair, but it is perceived to have magical qualities, because of which rhino horn commands a phenomenal price in traditional Asian medicines.
Really?
Oriental medicine, which is why people are willing to take incredible risks in order to hunt a rhino and chop off the horn.
And chopping off the horn kills the rhino?
Yeah, because they bleed to death.
No, but they don't have any ways and means of taking off a little bit, like a branch of a tree.
No, because once you've taken that kind of risks, no poacher would leave anything behind.
Oh, the greed. The greed just kills them.
Yeah, so basically, in some countries, there have been attempts where they tried to chop off the horns of the rhino. Okay, that has its own biological consequences.
Like?
Well, they use it to compete with other males during breeding, for example.
Oh.
It is also something with which usually the most potent tool of the rhino is the bite. They bite. But they also use their horns in aggression.
The rhinos bite?
Yes.
They have a
very sharp bite. Very sharp.
Okay.
They're very powerful animals.
Okay. And it's a 300 kg animal?
No. 3 tons.
3,000 kg animal?
Yes.
And just tell us something more about the rhino, how it grows, how many years it survives.
See, again, for animals of that size, slow growing, breeding is not very rapid, and there are very few enemies. So basically, if the habitat is left intact, rhino population will stabilize over a period of time. But then there are 2 kinds of threats. In Kaziranga, for example, we've seen poaching as one. The Brahmaputra flooding is also a very serious problem, because when the river is in spate, then it takes away everything in front of it. So Brahmaputra, as you know, in Indian mythology, every river is a nadi. Brahmaputra is a nad. It's a male. So when it spreads its banks during the flooding season, it's a sight to watch. So on the western side rather southern side of Kaziranga, the Karbi Anglong Hills, they are the main areas where the rhinos move on during the monsoons. They also have a lot of mounds in that area now.
Those mounds have been
created so that rhinos can take shelter. Not just rhinos, other animals also. Otherwise, they can be easily swept away during the torrent.
So has it proven to be useful, these mounds?
Very useful.
And when were these mounds created?
Well, it's been an ongoing process for several years now once the problem was identified. But more importantly, Assam has created a dedicated force of armed people to protect rhinos and who take on the rhino poachers very aggressively, because the only way to fight fire is with fire. So it's a dedicated force, very well trained, very well equipped, and they have ensured that rhino poaching in Assam has come down to near zero numbers for the last several years now.
So are you saying if there is marshland in some other place and similar temperatures and there's swampy marshland and tall grass, rhinos can be bred there?
Yes, Dudhwa is an example. There were no rhinos in Dudhwa, but in the 1980s, uh, people decided that they should consider this as a relocation site. Studies were done, and rhinos were brought in initially from Assam and then from Nepal. And those rhinos have grown into a very good number. I was in Dudhwa about 10 days back, got some amazing shots of rhinos there. They're doing quite well there. And hats off to the Forest Department of UP. They've done some great work in protecting those rhinos. Incidentally, near Pilibhit, in a place called Khatima in Uttarakhand, that's also a very ideal rhino habitat. And hopefully at some point in time, the Uttarakhand government will also step in to consider translocation of rhinos, reintroduction of rhinos in that area.
And making a reserve for rhinos, that would be a great idea. So moving on to another very big animal, the elephant, which is seemingly a very kind animal and a quiet animal. But at times, especially the ones that are alone, when they're left alone, they can be really damaging to humans. So how do you understand the conflict between elephant and man with this category? And then tell us more about the protection and other things about the elephant.
Before we talk about the conflict caused by elephants, I think we should take a look at the life cycle of elephants. Elephants' life cycle resembles that of human beings in many ways. It's amazing if you watch a herd of wild elephants in the field. It's amazing how they socialize with each other, how the mother takes care of the calves, how the aunt takes care of the calves, how they train them, and the phenomenal elephantine memory that we talk about. The matriarchs lead the herd, and they have a great memory of traditional routes over which they migrate. And there's a story and a reason behind elephant migration. Elephants eat a lot. They need to drink a lot of water every day. So if they stay confined in a small place, they will destroy the habitat very quickly. So that's how nature is designed, that they stay in a place for a while and then move on, because it gives an opportunity for that particular area to rejuvenate. Also, they are nature's best gardeners, because what they eat, a lot of it comes out in the form of seeds which are now fermented, which are now ready to take root. So when the elephant travels through the forest, it also spreads biodiversity as it goes along.
Pollination. Amazing. So the elephant is also what, 3 tons?
More than that, usually for 4 to 5.5 tons. Yeah.
4.
And you talked of conflict. Yes, conflict due to elephants is a major problem. And we must remember that we lose about 500 people each year due to elephant attacks. And we must also remember that almost half of these attacks or loss of lives comes from 3 states: Odisha, Jharkhand, and Bengal. So these are the states which bears the brunt of human losses due to elephants. Crop damage is a very, very serious issue. And one of the reasons also is that our cropping pattern over a period of time is such that on the edge of the jungle, sugarcane is grown. Now, sugarcane is a very nutritious crop for an elephant. It does not know how to distinguish between a forest boundary and a private cropland. That's one. Secondly, wild animals have this whole urge and that instinct for survival. You have to compete with others. In order to compete, you have to be stronger, you have to be bigger, particularly, for example, for males or young mothers, lactating females. They need to have more nutritious food. So given an option of foraging in a forest where they will have to pick and choose, they would always prefer to walk into a cropland where they can feed almost blindfolded, because the crop is uniformly spread around in a given area. So that is a huge trigger for conflict. That's one. The second, of course, is infrastructure, linear infrastructure, roads, railway lines that dissect habitats, stop elephants from moving across from one part to the other. And as I pointed out, they have elephantine memories. For us, this may be an apartment block. For them, it is still the route that they followed 20 years ago. That brings them into close proximity with.
So this conflict you mentioned, Odisha, Jharkhand, and West Bengal, as the three states where most man-animal conflicts happen, and
For elephants.
for elephants,
Yeah.
which happen and deaths happen. So was this the case 20 years ago also, 30 years ago?
See, elephant conflict has been there, but of course, the scale has now amplified. It is now reaching up a scale where we need to step in and do something very quickly. So states are doing a lot. The government of India has also stepped in. Now they're setting up a Center for Human Wildlife Conflict Mitigation. And we need to learn from examples from all across the world. For example, Sri Lanka has a problem with elephants. There are some examples in African countries also where there is a problem with conflict. But we must also remember one thing: animals learn. They're very clever. So what works once need not necessarily work all the way through. They adapt. We also need to adapt. So it's basically you have to sort of think how the animal would actually behave in a particular situation and plan and program your strategies accordingly.
So what is the best way to, change the corridor, the transport corridor for elephants, something you should not touch. But when you have to, suppose a road has to go through, what do you do?
See, India has recently done some very good work in terms of mitigating such conflicts by creating elevated corridors. We've seen examples near Kana and Pech, and I've been driving on the Delhi-Dehradun route now, and recently in April when the Honorable Prime Minister opened that new road that has a 10-kilometer section from Ganeshpur to Asharodi that is elevated. It connects the Rajaji National Park and Tiger Reserve to other forests in Uttar Pradesh, and camera trap evidence shows that elephants are now using that area
Under
the highway. Similarly, near Haridwar, the Chila Motichur corridor, that's also an elevated corridor where elephants and tigers have been using that area. So that's one way of looking at it. But let me also add a word of caution. I feel that the first step in mitigation is avoidance. Ideally, we should avoid such interventions.
Okay, so if you can avoid the road going through the sanctuary,
That's
avoid it.
best.
Yeah.
If we can look at alternatives which do not actually bisect, that is the best. This should be only as the last resort. Unfortunately, sometimes people think that because there is a technical tool available, so this is now something that we should go ahead and do all the time. I am not very comfortable with that idea, and I think these are solutions that should be applied with a lot of care and caution,
Okay.
and only in the most exceptional circumstances.
Okay, great. So let's go to the tiger now. Now everybody talks about the tiger. Not many people talk about rhino and elephant. So my primary question is that why is that? Why is tiger so fashionable to talk about and not the rhino and elephant?
Well, when was the last time you saw a tiger in the wild?
Okay.
The reason is why I'm making this statement is that as somebody who served mostly, as you said, in wildlife areas all my life, I have lost count of the times I've come across a tiger in the field. But every time, even today, when I do so, when I come across a tiger, it's almost like I'm standing in front of royalty. It's almost like a manifestation of a creature that is beyond natural as imagination. As I said, Blake said, "What immortal hand or eye could frame thy fearful symmetry?" The very presence of the tiger in the forest, it adds an aura that cannot be described. And it's very fascinating that Animal Planet once did a global survey of the most fascinating animal. People thought the answer would be the dog, which is the most common animal around us. It was the tiger. There are n number of countries which don't have wild tigers, but we have issued postage stamps on the tiger.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And one of my prizest possessions is a tiger carved on a dried pumpkin, which was done somewhere in Peru. Of course, they don't have tigers there. So the fascination with tigers is not just Indian or in South Asia or in East Asia. It's a global phenomenon.
Certified by Animal Planet. Okay, so what about tigers? What about the numbers? I believe they've gone up by 150% in the last 20 years. And how are we conserving them? Are we conserving them too much?
Okay, that's a very interesting question. Let me just get you some figures. See, as you know, when Project Tiger was started in 1973, 1st of April in Corbett, we had 9 tiger reserves initially, and that number has been growing. And today we have 58 tiger reserves, 85,000 square kilometers area. So, as you know, tiger numbers grew up from 1411 to in 2006 to 3,862 in 22, and we are doing the next cycle right now. So hopefully by next year we will have a new set of numbers that will tell us what is happening to tigers. Now, out of those 58 tiger reserves, let's see what is happening. 53 tiger reserves were assessed in 2022, of which 5 tiger reserves had 0 tigers each. There were 8 reserves which had 1 tiger each. There were 4 reserves with 2 to 5 tigers and 2 reserves to have 6 to 10 tigers. The point I'm trying to make is that while these 53 tiger reserves represent excellent tiger habitat, the fact is that many of these tiger reserves are hosting suboptimal populations or no populations, even no populations, while there are others which are bursting at their seams. It was assessed recently that over a third of India's tigers are living outside the tiger reserves. So when Project Tiger was conceived, it was conceived as a fortress model. You have a tiger reserve, you protect it with whatever you have at your disposal. And of course, there were talk of corridors because genetic diversity has to be maintained. So connectivity with nearby areas, yes, but primary focus is on protecting. Now you have tigers walking all across. Uttarakhand has 540 tigers, of which 260 were in Corbett, about 55 in Rajaji. The rest are in all our Tarai divisions. So these are hotspots also for potential conflict. So now, Government of India has taken a very wise step of coming up with a program that is called Tigers Outside Tiger Reserves, TATR.
TNTR.
TATR, Tigers, TOTR, Tigers Outside Tiger Reserves. So they are focusing on other areas outside the tiger reserves. Till now, Project Tiger would fund only tiger reserves. Central funding would be there only for them. So now, the Project Tiger is also providing funding to other areas which are not tiger reserves but which hold a significant tiger population, so that they can also focus on things like protection, habitat management and stuff. Because the joke was, people said that a tiger in, say, Ranthambore or Corbett is an APL tiger.
APL.
Above poverty line.
Okay, okay.
And the tigers which live on the periphery, they are BPL tigers because you don't have any resources committed towards them.
Okay.
So the strategy is changing. Project Tiger has been acknowledged as the most successful large animal conservation program in the world.
Okay.
So I think we have a lot to be very proud of, but conservation successes bring their own challenges. In the last few years, we have been losing about 100 people to tiger attacks every year across the country. And very surprisingly, about 2 to 3 years ago, in just 1 year, one district, Chandrapur in Maharashtra, had more than 50 human deaths attributed to tiger attacks. This is not acceptable. So we need to work harder on strategies whereby we are able to manage tiger populations in a way where their distribution does not threaten humans. At the same time, also work so that human activities do not impede upon tiger habitats, do not damage tiger habitats, do not create threats to tiger habitats or to tigers, leading to conflict.
So, rising population, rising population density of those areas which are close to all these tiger reserves, especially in the Tarai, even in the hills, and rising population and population density of tigers. So, these two will come into conflict. So, is it a smart thing to keep increasing the tiger population in the Tarai region, or focusing most of our efforts on those slightly underpopulated tiger reserves?
As we discussed earlier, there are many areas which are good tiger bearing areas where the habitat is intact, other conditions are there, but tiger populations are non-existent or suboptimal. So we need to focus on those areas, number one. Secondly, there are many areas where it is, I think, illogical to expect that the population will keep on increasing. Why would population keep on increasing? The resources are limited. The best we can do is try and keep them at the level that they are today. They're not going to go up in any sense.
So look at the Corbett, where you said there are 260 tigers. So I mean, since you breathe and talk and dream of tigers, so how has the population been growing, and can it sustain 260 tigers?
Tigers keep on teaching us new things every time. When I started out and when my first posting in 1996 took me to Corbett, then we used to talk of tiger numbers in a hushed manner because we thought, my God, so many tigers. Then one of the estimates that I did showed 140 tigers, and I was very scared of discussing it with anybody because I thought people will call me crazy. But then now what is happening is that because of the nature of the habitat, now we realize, because with camera trapping and all, 260 tigers, the last directory that I had photographs of more than 250 individual tigers.
250 individual tigers?
More than 250 out of 260.
Photographs that you have taken, or including
no, camera traps. It's a part of the census estimation.
Okay.
So individual tigers, more than 250 out of an estimated population of 260. So the point again is that these are tigers that are learning to live in a more social manner, which is not the case.
Which means they are happy to cohabit with other tigers.
Yeah, because the habitat is so rich, prey base is so good, they are offered protection. One of the craziest things I've seen is 3 tigers coming together, 2 of the same litter, brothers, if we could call them in a human anthropomorphic sense, and 1 female from the previous litter, from the same mother, 3 of them coming together, hunting together to kill an elephant. I'll share some photographs with you. It's amazing. It's not been recorded before.
So they're basically first cousins.
Yeah. and that is the amazing thing, that because of the richness of the habitat, they are able to survive and compete with each other favorably in a smaller area. The Siberian tiger usually has a territory of up to 500 square kilometers because the area where it lives is very sparsely populated with prey animals. It's not the case in some of our better reserves. So tigers are able to pack in more closely because all their other needs are being met in that area. But this is not a infinite game.
So you're of the view that natural course of events and the way they breed and don't breed, all that will be dependent more on the habitat and the food available to eat, and they're very intelligent animals.
Yes.
So they may not grow that much in size.
No, it's not about size.
I mean, in numbers.
In numbers. The point is that even when everything else is met, there is still a limit to the physical carrying capacity that an area may hold, the numbers that the area may hold. We may be able to inflate it in some manner by better habitat management, but I'm not sure it is always the desirable thing to do. One of the good things about Corbett is a tiger nursery. A lot of breeding happening, a lot of females are able to bring up litters of 4 tigers, five cubs to adulthood, but there are very good corridors. So the areas around Corbett they have very good tiger populations. In fact, some of the forest divisions in the periphery of Corbett have more tigers than quite a few tiger reserves in the country.
Oh,
And
so,
that's happening because there is a source population which is dispersing and finding a good habitat in the neighboring areas.
so how's the local communities taking it? Are they happy with it? Unhappy with it? The farming community must be unhappy.
There are two aspects of it. There's a lot of tourism revenue that's being generated. So there are stakeholders who work in that sector and who derive a livelihood out of it, and they're very happy about it. But at the same time, conflict is increasing. People are facing more chances of coming across a wild tiger while they go into the forest for their daily chores. And it's something that is ingrained in our way of life, collecting fodder, fallen wood, firewood. So people go to the forest. And once they do that, sometimes they will come across a tiger which they happen to disturb. And a chance encounter may lead to anything.
Okay.
And if it's between a man and a tiger, usually the tiger wins.
Okay, yeah.
And the other problem that is also there is that because of the territorial nature of tigers, what happens is that as the animals become older, they're pushed to the periphery by the younger crop.
So the older ones who
The
can,
best habitats are always occupied by animals in their prime, so they will push off. So either there's a fight and the older animal loses and dies, or it decides to peacefully to get pushed over to the periphery. So these are the animals in the periphery, okay, which are older. Sometimes if they lose their canines, or they have other problems because of which they are not able to hunt animals the way they would usually do. These are a very potent mixture for conflict.
Okay, great. So that's excellent stuff you've told us on the rhinoceros, on the three large animals, the ones that we spoke about just now. Can you tell us about the birds now? There's in the vultures. There's a project Vulture also in the government of India, I think. And also there's a lot of protection being done for the great Indian bustard. So can you expound a bit on both these subjects?
Vultures, again, very fascinating animals, carrion eaters, and usually they were not very regarded very highly because they were seen as a symbol of death. But vultures performed a very important role in our ecology because they used to dispose of carcasses very efficiently. What happened was that in the 80s and 90s, suddenly vulture populations, which were estimated to be more than 40 million, three major species, suddenly dropped by 99.5%.
I remember in school they used to snatch our tiffins, but it doesn't happen anymore.
Because there are hardly any vultures around.
What was the reason?
99.5% population loss. I mean, what worse could we think of? And the reason, when people went into the detail, they realized there is this non-steroidal painkiller called diclofenac, which is something that you and I would also sometimes pop in without a second thought. Okay, people started administering it to the cattle because it's very cheap. So it was also used for treating animals. And when animals die, the diclofenac stays in the residue and it is fatal for vultures. So it would cause what is called as a drooping neck syndrome. The neck of the vulture would droop like this. It was not able to feed and it would die. So in early 2000, the government of India realized that this was the reason why vultures were dying. And then there was a ban on the use of diclofenac in India, but just being done in India wouldn't help. So there was a discussion and it was banned in Nepal, Bangladesh, Pakistan also. And then we've set up some vulture breeding centers in Pinjore, also Raja Bhatkhoa in West Bengal near Buxar Tiger Reserve, where vultures are being bred in captivity and gradually released. Last week, I came across a news item that said that a vulture released in Maharashtra, Tadoba, had reached Ranthambore after traveling more than 3,300 kilometers. So that's the span that these animals go. But more importantly, the crash of the vulture population was a major public health crisis. And that is something that people don't realize.
Public health means human health.
Yes.
Okay, why?
There's a recent study by the university. I'll just get you the name.
Great. Yeah.
So it says that between 2000 and 2005, about 500,000 people in India lost their lives, which could be related to the decline in vultures, because the decline in vulture numbers meant that they were no longer around to feed on carcasses and dispose of them, which meant that feral dogs had a free run. Dog population exploded because of the
Absence
increased availability of food. Surplus food was available. So their population increased. Rabies incidents increased. Water contamination increased. And a lot of diseases were caused because of that. So University of Chicago's, I think, School of Public Policy has this peer-reviewed report that talks about 500,000 deaths caused due to the decline of vultures just between 2000 and 2005.
Just 5 years.
Just 5 years.
Okay,
I
then
think
tell
that
us about
calls
the
for-
Great Indian Bustard.
The Great Indian Bustard, as you know, is very rare, critically endangered. We talk of tigers, more than 3,600 in India alone. The global population of the GIB is just about 150.
Global population.
Yeah, just about 150. 6 states in India. And it is an indicator species of the grasslands. So over a period of time, we lost our grasslands, which is also one of the reasons why we lost the cheetah, by the way.
Okay.
So now, of course, the good thing is that there is attention being focused on lesser known species like the GIB. So now there's a recovery program. There are 2 hatcheries now set up in Rajasthan, one near Sam and another nearby areas, where they are artificially hatching eggs. They're collecting eggs from the wild, artificially hatching. They also do something which is called jump starting, where newly hatched chicks are placed in wild nest so that they can be brought up in the wild.
So, what were the Great Indian Bustard numbers, say, 50 years ago, 100 years ago?
I'm not sure if they are very credible estimates of GIB
Okay.
numbers, but they were far more, for the simple reason that it was a species, as I said, that frequented our grasslands. And in the desert areas particularly, it was also a species that were very protected because it was open for hunting only by the royals.
Okay, okay.
In Pakistan, for example, even today, some bustard species, although they're all protected in law, but they make exceptions for some sheikhs from the Middle East, and they issue permits for them to hunt the various species of bustards
That is
that are
quite
available.
unfortunate. So, on animal protection, one point that you had mentioned was originally Project Tiger started with the making of fortress, that this much area is protected, the rest of it is not, but that hasn't really worked. It's not practical. So, are these new type of new age measures that we keep hearing about, like your camera traps and your drones, thermal imaging, all these things, are they good, bad? How does the community look at them? The local communities?
Well, I would not agree with you when you say that the fortress model has not worked. See, desperate times call for desperate measures. And when we started, we were looking at a population of just about 1,000 plus tigers at that point in time. So we had to do what we had to do.
So there's drones and all this stuff.
Right now, what is needed is that there's a lot of technology now coming into conservation, which is a great thing to happen. But technology can be viewed in various ways. The drone is not basically targeted at just keeping poachers away. It does help a lot in looking at human ingress into the forest areas. It can also be used as a tool to provide advance warning when a herd of elephants moves into human-dominated landscapes.
Okay, so it's a good tool to have.
So these are good tools. They are now remotely sensed cameras. They are now pressure. A lot of accidents happen on railway tracks with elephants. So till the point, people were looking at it as accidents for elephants. The approach was different. The moment we talk about how it is also a potential threat to railway traffic and people, okay, the approach changes. So now we are looking at technology which uses ultrasonic sensors. Sometimes there are pressure pads which are triggered by the weight of the elephant, and that gives you an alarm that an elephant is moving in that area. So all of these together are used basically to prevent any situation where elephants and people may come in close proximity to prevent conflict.
Fascinating conversation. So, are there any very interesting episodes that you can think about in your life where you may have met a tiger or an elephant? Anything interesting you'd like to share?
It'll probably take weeks if I get started. But yeah, I think there are a couple of incidents which certainly would stand out. A few years ago, in a very sad incident, one of my staff was killed by a tiger while this person was on foot patrol as part of a party. So the tiger just sneaked it and took it away. I had the unfortunate task of trying to locate his body. We went on elephant back. The tiger was sitting on the person who was dead by then. We shooed away the tiger, moved the body away. After a while, of course, the tiger was not happy. The tiger came and charged at our elephant. We were on elephant back. And it was just about to jump on us when my guard fired a warning shot. The tiger stopped. It was very angry. And when you can imagine what a ferocious, angry tiger would look at a few feet away. I had a loaded gun in my hand and I simply froze. I didn't know how to react. Worse was, the elephant freaked out and the mouth lost control. The elephant would no longer listen to any of its commands. So the next half an hour, the elephant decided, because the tiger's roar had spooked the elephant also. So the next half an hour, we were sitting on an elephant which would not respond to any command. Finally, it was brought under control, and then we got down from the elephant, guns in hands. We walked to about 2 kilometers to the nearby chowki. All of us were conscious that there's a tiger which has killed a person not many hours ago and would come from any side. It is the longest walk of my life.
Very scary, actually.
It is.
I remember seeing a tiger in Corbett. I was very excited. I want to see a tiger. And I used one of your friends, you yourself maybe, and requested to take me at a spot where I want to see. And when I saw the tiger, even I froze. I don't want to see another tiger again. Anything else you'd like to share?
Yeah, I mean, there was one incident again where in 2005, a leopard had fallen into a well. So I volunteered because they tried it. We could not rescue it at that point in time. So I volunteered, went down the well, 60 feet, darted the animal, brought it up in a net. And till that time, I was okay. When I saw the photograph next morning in the newspaper, I completely freaked out because it hit me then.
That was a crazy thing.
That it was perhaps the most crazy thing I've ever done in my life. But yeah, it gives you a huge thrill. And I think that particular incident was a game changer because till then, whenever there was a crisis, they would call people from Wildlife Institute or somewhere else to help with it. That time, because I worked very closely with the Wildlife Institute of India, I decided to take the lead. When I took the lead, I think a lot of people came after me, and it was very easy to motivate staff also to come along. My younger colleagues, my other officers also to come along, because they knew that if they won't do it, I'll probably step in and then they would have to do meet my eye. So in that sense, I think it was something that has been very satisfying. We have a very, very professional team in the Uttarakhand Forest Department right now. Without any external help, we've done tiger translocation from Corbett to Rajaji. We capture animals all the time when there is a need in conflict situations or in a rescue situation. And there are people, we rescue more than 5,000 snakes on an annual basis without any song and dance. So I am very, very proud of my team, the people I have worked with all these years.
Excellent. So, is there any incident you remember of a wild animal showing love and regard for a human?
I don't look at wild animals with that human eye. I think, it's a lot of people attribute human motives, affection, love, aggression. I would say let wild animals be wild animals. I think I find them more interesting. There is something about their mystery that should be left as such.
Okay. Great. Thank you, Mr. Sinha. It was fascinating listening to you. And 36 years of excellent service you've done with the Forest Department. And hope you have another very good stint in your post-retirement phase. Thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you. It's been a privilege talking to you. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.